We're excited for this next hour again, talking about Black health. Very important. Not just this all time. But I got Coach K stepping in the room. Salute, sir. Welcome. We want to thank everybody who's tuned in. Drop where you tuned in from. Please in the chat box. We definitely want to make sure that you have the opportunity to go out again. But more importantly, hopefully you can get out to some of your cities and tell you guys as a popular that sound, but be in your area and actually provide some information you guys have about it. Coach K,
yes, sir.
For us, man.
Yes, sir. It's been tough sitting on the sideline, just waiting.
We know how you get, man. I know you was anxious over there.
Man, I was. Man, and listen, man, we need to get on whatever your diet and nutrition is, because Nicole took a couple years off you.
I appreciated every moment of that. When she threw me in the category with Brett, I was like, man, bless her heart. Bless her heart. I'll take every moment of that. But hey, we out here, we're trying to make 40 the new 30. Just had my birthday. And yeah, man, me and Art, Geminis of the crew, we out here holding it down. No worries, no grays, baby.
Yes. That walking in fresh ovation is paying off.
Now you feel me.
All right, brother. Hey, so for those of you that are just joining, I just want to let you know who you're with. You are with the 13th Floor podcast crew, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. And I just want to give a shout out to the first session, because look, that was some of everything. I'm glad I wasn't on it, because I would have been crying at any point where Nicole was singing. So just so much feeling and emotion. So shout out to the first hour. But when I tell you we have some fire coming in for the second one, man, go ahead and call the fire department now, because it's about to get crazy in here. And they labeled it the health section, but I'm gonna go ahead and call this the When We Breathe section. And that basically means what happens when you let us breathe. And everybody that you're going to see today on this whole program is just an example of what happens when you let us breathe. So without further ado, I want to bring this first young lady in. And I know BJ is getting her together, but this next young lady is a Miami native. I'm pretty sure there's some island background in there, but once she starts talking, I'll let her confirm that for me. She's got her Bachelor of Science in Health Science. She's got her doctorate of optometry from Salus University. She's worked every format of an optometry office that you can, hospital, private, retail. And check this one out. In 2020, this young lady acquired a Pearl's Vision franchise, right? And she did that with her brother, Patrick Cohen, who was also University of Miami graduate. And first, I just want to say, look, that's just an awesome example of just familial and generational wealth, where you get together as a family and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And that's one of the things that we need more of, but we'll get more into that later. And then, of course, she doesn't just do her profession at a high level, but she also finds a way to give back by being a part of the National Optometric Association. And I had to make sure to enunciate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Camille Cohen. Welcome, Camille.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Hey, listen, we are so glad to have you. And ladies and gentlemen, you can see at the bottom of the screen, if you happen to be in New York, or if you're like me and some of my podcast mates that are willing to travel to go get health care that we know will absolutely look out for us and take care of us. You can see her address at the bottom of the screen, right? So, Camille, first thing I want to do, we got to put some respect on optometry, right?
Yeah.
Because when you hear of doctors, nobody really talks about optometrists, right?
They don't.
Especially Black optometrists.
Right.
Right.
That's
so
right.
What led you to that field?
I can't see. So no, I don't know for real. I don't really see very well. I have something called keratoconus. So it's a degenerative corneal disease. So, long story short, it just warps my vision a bit. And I always enjoyed the eye doctor because things were clearer. Going to UM, I remember that basically it was, so you want to do pre-med? Now I want to do optometry. So like pre-med, but different. And I remember going to the office with the advisor, and they had big old like stacks of folders for pre-med students. They had a nice, decent sized folder for pharmacy, a smaller one, and they said that one has dentistry and optometry. And I went and I kept waiting to see where optometry was. It was like a sheet of paper. So wow. It was just one page and doing research myself and figuring it out. But I'm here, so figured it out.
Listen, we are here and we're glad to have you here, especially since I think you told me that I don't even know what the percentage of, but it's a very low percentage. I think 3%, right? Black optometrists, and that's male or female, right?
That's absolutely correct. Yep.
Absolutely right. So what is that experience like? Like, how do your peers respond to you? We'll get to the patients in a second, but what's the peer response when they see you in the room with them?
That was a culture shock for me. So I grew up in Florida, and you are right. So, Jamaican descent, and just accustomed to everybody's from somewhere in Miami. And, whether, Latino versus Caribbean versus wherever else, everybody's from somewhere, versus going to school in Pennsylvania and meeting students who would say, or colleagues now, who would say, I've never been around someone outside of my race my whole life. They were in shock being with classmates who maybe didn't look like them. That was really difficult for me initially, because I just didn't think that happened. So that was always interesting, and just adjusting to a new culture, a new way, because moving to the Northeast, I met more people who were like that, who weren't familiar with that. And if I walk in the room, they might think that I'm a technician, or I'm the receptionist, or something like that.
When's the doctor coming in?
Right. That's it. And it's also being a woman, because they might see, because I've worked in offices where all the doctors are Black, and so it's not just being Black, but it's also being a woman, because they might look for someone else who's male and say, oh, so he's doctor, he's coming in, and that's always an adjustment. So I've definitely experienced it across the board, where I've done the whole exam and say, okay, it's time to see the doctor now. What did you think we were doing this whole time?
Yeah. Hey, they are thinking the doctor's running late.
Yeah. Rude.
Right? And you're calling. Yeah. Rude. No autopsy, right?
None.
Nice.
Disrespectful.
Disrespectful. So we went into the peer response. We just got a little bit of the patient response, right? But what does that do for you as far as motivating for you in your day-to-day, right? And now you own your own franchise. So how does that make you feel when you walk around knowing, I'm rare. I'm a diamond out here?
I'm still adjusting to that. So, I mean, like I said before, I was in a private practice where basically the surgeon was the ophthalmologist. She did pediatric surgery. She was Black. The other doctor was Black, all Black staff, but it was in a predominantly Black neighborhood. The reception was a little warmer. They might be confused initially, but then they're excited, and they're proud of you. The area that we're in now is predominantly white, and so it's just a different vibe. I've had this discussion recently where I still currently have an all Black staff, and so the argument has come up. Are you sure you want to do that there? You sure you don't want to hire someone who's of a different background or race? to have a different face in the front. And that bothers me. I struggle with that a bit because I feel like if we're all doing our job and we're all, excellent at our jobs, then it shouldn't matter what we look like. If we were an all Jewish staff, if we were an all Asian staff, do we have to explain ourselves? Do I have to be a little less Jewish than or a little less Asian? I mean, we also can bring up the fact that my last name is Jewish. So that also adds another.
I was going to say, for the people from South Florida, we are all familiar with the commercials for Cohen and Cohen, the law firm, right? So you are definitely fooling people when they're looking up to see who their insurance covers and they see Dr. Camille F. Cohen.
Tell you, just throwing them off, pull the okie doke on them. Yeah. I get that a lot. And up here, what's really big is Cohen's optical. So then they really are looking at me and wondering what's happening. There were Jews in Jamaica, okay, first of all, but that throws people off a bit and expecting either shock and sometimes excitement or maybe occasionally disgust. I take it all in. I feel like I do a good job and I know what I'm talking about, and that should speak for itself.
Absolutely. So, man, like, just what an experience, right? And going from, it's funny, you said you went from Miami, which is in the South, and you went north, and that's when you started experiencing well, wait a minute, right?
Yes.
All right, now me being currently in Chicago, I've got that same experience where, wait a minute, it's not exactly as we played it to be, especially and it's just so fitting today with being Juneteenth, and we think about, being free and where did people go? And anyway, that's a whole nother podcast episode. But I know that you have a patient that you have to get to soon, and we definitely want to thank you for taking out the time. But before you go, I definitely want to know, for people that haven't considered optometry, right? They haven't considered that path and they want to be in the medical field. What advice would you give them?
I would say you need to carve out your own path. Look it up. There aren't that many optometry schools. Look at the school and see how do they treat minority students there. Make sure that you are exposing yourselves to all types of practice. Optometry is so much more than glasses and contact lenses, right? We are primary eye care physicians. So if someone is suffering from diabetes, before they have that stroke, before they lose their vision, we're the first ones to see that. We'll see the bleeding in the eyes. Hispanics and Latinos, Hispanics and Blacks are 5 times more likely to go blind from glaucoma. It is the silent thief of sight. By the time someone notices something's wrong with their vision, they've probably already lost their vision. You are that person who is literally saving someone's sight and their life. So optometry is a very rewarding field. Someone has uncontrolled high blood pressure, you can have a stroke of the eyes. Do we talk about that? Do people realize that? That stroke of the eye, there's no warning, and that's it. Your vision's gone. You can predict a brain tumor. I've done that before with a patient. Say, are you having these symptoms? You need to go to a neurologist right now. These things are happening. It's a rewarding field. You can definitely go into the research aspect of it. It's 4 more years of school, but isn't everything. So you do that, you can go. And it's one of the fields that as a woman, you set your own schedule. Now as an entrepreneur, I'm tired. I'm very, very tired. But at the same time, I set my schedule. I told the staff, like, we're closing one of these Fridays just to catch up on billing. And that autonomy, you just can't get it anywhere else, I feel like.
Yeah. So a couple points there. One, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said that the eyes were the gateway to the soul, right? And you just talked about 3 different things. Actually, you talked about 2. You told me about another one. You might have mentioned it. I might have missed it, but you talked about being able, glaucoma. You talked about diabetes. You talked to me about hypertension, right? Being able to see that through the eyes. And for the Black males that are on hypertension, we all know we get spoken to about it quite often. For the minorities, for the Black and the brown people, glaucoma. It's funny going to white optometrists all my life. They always make sure to tell me that at the end. Oh, Black people, you're very susceptible to glaucoma, and we do the eye dilation and everything. But man, talk about another check, right? Like, don't just think about going to your primary care physician and that's it. You also want to include your local optometrist in your health routine. Yeah. And then, of course, I had to say this one, Bounty Killer. My man said, look into my eyes. Tell me what you see. Right. So I would imagine Camille might be bumping that in the office, but making people just a little bit more uncomfortable than they already are. No, I'm just joking. Hey, so Camille, I know you have an IG handle where you drop tips for optometry and everything. Can we, what is that handle? I think it's, actually we've got it up. It's Dr. Camille F. Cohen Optometry. You can find her on IG. She definitely drops all types of tips, health and wellness surrounding optometry in the eye. And look, man, it's been a pleasure. Is there anything that you want people to know before you go?
Eye health is very important. You just said it's a window to the soul, but it's actually the window to the whole body. So your primary care might look at your numbers, your A1C, your blood pressure. It might look stable today, but you get a dilation, and I'm going to tell you something different. I'm going to tell you that, you're on the verge of a stroke because of what your eyes are telling me. It's the one way that we can see into your body without cutting you open. It's much more than glasses and contacts. You could be 20/20 and blind tomorrow. So that's just your central vision. That doesn't take care of your peripheral vision, your actual eye health, your systemic health. We as a people need to be better about being proactive about our health. Right now, diabetes is the #1 cause for blindness in the US. That is 7 million people. It's expected to be 14 million by 2030. As a race, we are over 800,000 people deep suffering from blindness due to diabetes. And with hypertension, as compared to Caucasians who are at 20% suffering from hypertension, we are at almost 50%. So you might have a little pressure, just a touch of sugar, but if you're still in that fried chicken line, you might be doing more harm to yourself than necessary. Not just your life, but your vision, everything. So make sure we're proactive and we're visiting all of our healthcare practitioners.
Listen, Camille, look, we love you. We appreciate you taking time out. Can we plant the seed now to get you on for a longer podcast episode where we can just educate the people and just share some more of your awesomeness?
Well, thank you. Yes, I'm always ready.
All right, perfect. We're going to put you in the queue. Look, happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you again soon. And thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, when I told you this session was going to be fire, that was just number one. I'm going to bring up some more folks. I got 3 more to go. And listen, I'm not going to make you wait. We're going to jump right into it. So, man, if I can have my next guest pop up. I got to tell y'all, I feel like Eddie Murphy doing Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. I should have put on a little sweater. And do the whole thing. I wonder who that could be. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this person here, it's funny. I asked everybody for a bio and I told them, look, we got like 15 minutes and they each sent me a bio that was at least 10 minutes worth of me speaking. So I had to break it down. But this next young lady, Jamaican born, you see the Jamaican theme, mostly South Florida raised, Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Let me throw it in there with a minor in chemistry and biology. Who does that? And she just wasn't in class. She did a lot of things while she was at the U. Then she did her medical doctorate in Miami as well. She completed her residency in NYU obstetrics and gynecology. Then did her fellowship in maternal fetal medicine. And right now, she's the director of recruitment and retention for the Office of Diversity Affairs, NYU Grossman. School of Medicine. And there's so much more that I just cut out because I have to leave something for when we get on a full podcast episode. But I want to introduce you all to Dr. Terri-Ann Bennet.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, man. I love the shirt. Black Doctors Matter. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
CEO Wendy-Ann Dixon got me this shirt.
CEO Wendy-Ann Dixon. Nice. Wendy-Ann Dixon, another person that, man, when I tell you the network is deep, the network is deep. So Terri, I know there's some things that are very important to you. We're going to get into, your pair and your patient response and things like that. But I really want to make sure you get a chance to talk about disparity in the care of Black pregnancies. Woo, look at the exhale, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the exhale.
Where would you like to start?
Listen, you start. You educate the people. What do the people need to know? Right? Like I think all I did was mention one thing to you about Black women seem to die at an unproportionate rate compared to every other minority-based ethnicity group, race. And you said, yes, that is truth. And your eyebrow went up. We weren't even on video. We were just on a regular phone, and I knew your eyebrow went up. So go ahead. Let's have it.
Before I get started, I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Cohen, who's a personal friend of mine and also my doctor. So if anyone is looking for a good eye doctor, I strongly, strongly recommend Camille Cohen, who is absolutely amazing. And so, I could literally talk about this probably all the days of my life, but my role as a maternal fetal medicine, the shorthand is sort of that I take care of pregnancies that are high risk. And that includes whether it's moms who have a high risk problem, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, or babies who have a problem, whether it's a genetic problem or a structural abnormality. And so a lot of what I do is take care of moms who are high risk in order to prevent bad outcomes. And obviously the worst of those outcomes are maternal mortality, where moms can die in pregnancy. And I don't know if anyone's been paying any attention at all, but I know all the Black women are very much aware that we are at a higher chance of dying during pregnancy than any other race or ethnicity. If you just look at the general numbers, and the CDC just put up some new numbers actually recently, Black women are 2 to 3 times in general, that's all comers. But if you look at women who are greater than 30 years old, which is pretty much everyone in our generation who's having children, that risk is as high as 4 to 5 times the rate of their white counterparts to die in the process of trying to have a baby. And in New York City, where I practice, that number is even as high as 12 times the rate of dying while Black just trying to have a baby. We're working very hard to bring those numbers down, and they are starting to trend down, but the reality still exists that getting pregnant can be very dangerous. And so, hence, the purpose of my life and why I take this job so very seriously.
Yes. And we definitely appreciate you for doing that. So look, I'm going to have to ask you in between to give people some tips. So when somebody's seeking out an OBGYN, what should they do? When somebody's seeking out a place where they want to have birth, what should they do? What do you recommend?
So the reality is it's really hard to find a good doctor. That's just the truth. Nobody wants to say that. You might talk to your friends or your homegirls and they might think someone is nice or they had a good experience. But the reality is nice and smart or nice and competent or nice and good are not the same. And so it's extremely difficult, to be quite frank, especially as someone who's not in the medical field, to be able to pick someone who's actually an excellent provider. And so the first thing I would say is if you know somebody, you ask them. I commonly take phone calls from friends, colleagues, friends of a friend. I think the best thing for us to do is to use our networks. And that's why I think this program is so very important, because a lot of us on this call particularly are connected in some way. And we have to help each other. We really do. We have to support one another. So I think if you have that connection, the best thing to do is to reach out and ask for help, because you want to start off by having a doctor that's not only good, but also that you trust and that you connect with. And then the second part of that is you really want to deliver in a strong academic center. And I know everyone doesn't have that ability, because depending on where you live, you may have a smaller hospital or a smaller clinic that you go to. But the truth is that where you deliver and where you live also plays a role in your risk of poor outcomes and even dying in pregnancy. In New York City, we can break it down by your zip code for what's your likelihood of dying during pregnancy and just your life expectancy altogether. So I would say picking a good doctor and picking an excellent hospital are probably the most important things. The third thing I would suggest is to be honest, do a lot of research on your own. Read about whatever issue it is that you have. Come in there prepared. I mean, people don't realize, but there's so much information out there. The CDC has a lot of good information about what you should be expecting with each visit. The American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, which is our national organization, puts out a lot of patient-friendly information. And the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine, which is sort of my governing body, it's the Society Nationally of High-Risk Doctors, puts out tons of patient-friendly information to guide you. So, because sometimes you just don't know what to expect, but it will literally tell you, here's your first trimester, what should be going down. Here's your second trimester, you need to be taking your sugar test, and sort of giving you a lay of the land so that you're going in there educated and having a starting point to help yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, if listen, if there had to be a word for me to put out to describe Terri-Ann, it is unapologetic. Like, she is who she is. And because I know this, like, she's not someone that she's going to know something and not put it out there. She's not going to be somebody that's going to be in a space and let you put out misinformation, right? Now, being that the case, what is the response of your peer group to you?
How do they respond to me, like my fellow doctors?
Yes.
My doctors know what to expect. Like, I had a session actually with Jason Starr last night. He gave a talk to our NYU community, and he was talking to my colleagues, and the one thing he said was, Terri-Ann is exactly the same. And that's just to say that I'm the same no matter what room I'm in. My motto in life is to thine own self be true. So you either take me or leave me, and I think within 5 minutes of meeting me, you pretty much know that's what it is. I'm a truth teller, and that's going to be whether you're my boss or a medical student. I'm just going to keep it real at all times, at all costs. And that's just what people expect from me and what they're always going to get, whether they want it or not.
Nice. Now, how does that work with your patients? So in the last segment, with Camille, we talked about patient response, right? And you're another one, Bennett. They don't know what to expect when they walk in. So they walk in and then they see Terri-Ann Bennet, which for those of you that don't know, Terri-Ann is not of a very in height. Her personality definitely makes up for all of that. So how does that go? Because not only you're a Black woman, but you also look really young, right?
Oh gosh. I mean, it is what it is. It's a constant battle. I have to face racism, sexism, ageism on a regular basis. I mean, to be quite honest, once I start talking, people recognize pretty quickly like that I'm the doctor or that I'm in charge of their care. I mean, sometimes they don't. Just like Camille mentioned in the previous talk, I can go through literally an entire session with someone, walk in, introduce myself as Dr. Bennet, do their ultrasounds, and then they'll still ask my sonographer, when is the doctor coming in? And I'm like, literally 5 seconds ago, I said, hello, my name is Dr. Bennet. So yeah, 100%. It's even after I introduce myself as a doctor, you know, they have to get past the fact that I'm Black, I'm a woman, and that I look like I'm not old enough to be a doctor. But I try to overcome that by being knowledgeable and being excellent. And I think that part is indisputable. And so once you can just work very hard at your craft and be very good, then no one can ever take that away from you. And then they'll recognize pretty quickly that they can trust you and that you know what you're doing.
Wonderful.
But in reference to my colleagues, I mean, my residents know what's up. They know when I'm on the floor, I'm going to ask them 20 million questions. They know I'm going to be grilling them nonstop. They know I'm going to be teaching them about how to take care of Black women better, how to take care of Hispanic women better, how to be culturally competent. And to be quite honest, they take that to heart and they love it. They love it. They seek it out. If I'm not around, they even be like, oh, Dr. Bennet, come by and can you come give us a talk about this? Or they love it, honestly. People love when you keep it real and are honest, especially patients.
Wonderful. I've got somebody else I need you to keep it real with. And that's for our minority males, our Black males, our brown males. How can we support our women through their pregnancies? What can we do to ease that situation, to minimize the stress, to minimize the difficult time they're already going through?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You know, honestly, I usually feel pretty bad for the husbands along the way because I feel like pregnancy almost seems surreal to them because they can't feel the baby. You know what I mean? The baby's inside the mom. It's a little bit surreal in that way. And knowing what's the right thing to say or do can be very difficult. And I think as men, especially as Black men, you know, Black men have to be strong and supportive and protective. And I feel like in that environment, you kind of feel like you can't be those things in certain ways because you don't have so much control. But I think the best way that men can be supportive of their moms is to, one, be knowledgeable, try to keep up with what's going on. I mean, she's already grown a whole human inside of her, so she probably doesn't want to spend an exponential amount of time explaining to you every step of the way what's the next thing. So I think being informed so that you're going through the process with your partner as much as you can, I think would be a very helpful way. And then listening to your partner is extremely helpful. And I'll tell you one thing that my patients usually get a kick out of. If I end up telling them, oh, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and then I'll end up saying, so my recommendation is foot rubs every morning, and then immediately they'll start cracking up. The husbands will come in, and they'll be like, yeah, you heard the doctor.
Right.
Just be supportive to her needs, and because every mom and every woman is going to need something different. Every pregnant person is going to need something different. So just trying to stay attuned and trying to keep up, I think, is the best you can do.
Listen, thank you for that. Is there, so a lot of places, and this is my experience, there wasn't a whole lot of education focused towards the male, right? Are there resources out there other than just me going to the classes, showing up to the appointments? When you said be knowledgeable, how can we do that? Read
exactly what the pregnant person is reading. So okay. Go to the CDC, go to the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, or the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine. All of those organizations actually have really great Instagram pages and Twitter pages, in addition to amazing websites. So reading the same information that we suggest moms to read, I think, is very important for fathers to read as well. Nothing warms my heart more than when a family comes in the room and the male partner is like on top of it. Like they got notes, they got questions down. They're like, hold on, doctor, what about this thing? Like nothing makes me like feel so warm and good inside to see an active partner really trying to support the pregnant patient along the way. So yeah, reading what she reads is extremely important. So you are a part of the process in a very active way.
Yep. So Terri, you would not be surprised to know that we have questions that are just flooding in. So for those of you watching, we've only been able to steal Terri for a short amount of time today, but we're going to capture.
So I'll stay on later if you want to circle back.
You want to stay on later? Okay, well, later.
I freed myself.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, keep sending in the questions. We're either going to organize something later today, or we're going to organize Terri on another podcast where we can answer all those questions, or we'll just send out to people the answers to the questions. We'll figure it out, but we'll definitely give you what you want to know, especially since we know a good part of our audience. We have a lot of Black females, minority females that follow us. So we definitely want to help and use our platform to educate as we can. Terri, last question for today. Anybody that wants to get into the field of being an OBGYN, what do you recommend? What's your advice?
My recommendation is to be aware that it's hard. That's just the truth. Becoming a doctor is very hard. OBGYN is extremely hard. High-risk pregnancy can be very stressful. So recognizing that it's a long road and it's a difficult road. But if your heart is in it, I think that's what the most important thing is. I know a lot of us, especially Caribbean people, we're, conditioned that we have to go after certain fields. And it's funny because I don't know if you saw Yvonne Orji's Netflix or HBO special that she did, but she basically talked about being African and that you can only be 4 things growing up to your African parents: a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, or a disappointment. Yep. And so I feel like that's true in a lot of Black households. But to me, the most important thing is to follow your heart. And your heart will lead you down the path that will live a fulfilling life, that will also allow you to contribute to society in ways that you can never imagine. So recognizing that the road is hard and following your heart and being ready to put in that work is the best advice that one can give. But the other thing I have to highlight is, there's not a lot of us. There's not a lot of Black MFMs. I'll tell you that straight up right now. And probably most people have not met one. And so the road actually can sometimes be discouraging because you're not always going to meet people who are supportive of you, who want to guide you down the right pathway. But if you follow your heart and you stay the course and you find people that can be good mentors and good sponsors, and those people don't always have to look like you either, then that's how you'll really be able to push yourself to the next level.
Love it. Love it. Terri, man, thank you so much for taking the time. Definitely, this is our podcast. Easy. So you have no choice. I'm already going to confirm it with your CEO to get you on and book your time. And look, thank you so much. Listen, I tell people all the time, and I think I told you this the other day, when I meet people, they say, oh my gosh, you're such an amazing person. You're so great. And really, it's just the reflection of people like Terri-Ann that I've come into contact with. And listen, my network of people commands that you got to be a great person. And again, the importance of network and surroundings and access, don't undervalue it. Don't undervalue it. Terri, love you. I guess if you're gonna be hanging around, I guess I'll talk to you later. Man, I feel like a kid in a candy store. But I'll let you do your thing. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye,
Whew. Wow. Yeah, I'm speechless. I'm sure a lot of you are speechless. Just so much Black excellence in one place at one time. And just think about it. All of the people that you're seeing, we're all connected somehow. How does that happen? How come nobody talks about that? Why aren't we on CNN? Why aren't we on Fox News? That's all right. We'll do it. We're going to keep it going. The next person I got, listen, talk about just powerhouses. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to let her just look. There's the face. Another one that I said, I got 15 minutes with you, and she sent me probably 15 minutes worth of accolades. So, but I'm going to give her flowers because she needs to get them. This young lady, another one, let me start backwards. This young lady has been recognized as a rising star and top physician by the American Medical Association National Minority Quality Forum's Brain Trust for top 40 under 40 in minority health. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say anything else.
Hold on, you got me following Dr. Cohen and Dr. Bennett. Woo! Dr. Bennett. Did she not tell the truth? Did she not?
Real truth. Truth.
Unapologetic. Yeah. I love it.
Unapologetic. So let me give some more stuff here, just because I want to give you all just the foundation of this thing. So University of Miami undergrad, music major, right?
Yeah. Classical
flute. Classical flute. Went to college on a classical flute scholarship. Do y'all understand that? Like, Like, we got people out there talking about college funds. No, teach your child how to play the flute.
Yeah.
Let them get a scholarship. They don't have to shoot a ball. They don't have to run a ball.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Morehouse School of Medicine. The residency at Medical University of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And then after that, UTMD Anderson Cancer Center, Houston. Wow. And that's just, I'm just touching the surface, ladies and gentlemen. There's so much more that we could go. Board certified breast surgical oncologist, recently named section chief, not section assistant, not section participant, section chief of breast surgical oncology, New York Presbyterian, Brooklyn Methodist Medical Hospital. And I got to ask you, are they Presbyterian or are they Methodist? I'm confused, but it's okay. You're the truth. That's all that matters to me. Professor of surgery at Weill Cornell Medicine and breast disparities researcher. And in her free time, whenever that comes, she's got two amazing young Black men that call her mommy. She's a community outreach leader, entrepreneur, and best-selling children's book author. And then there's still so much more after that we're not even going to get into today. But ladies and gentlemen, I give you Dr. Vivian Bea.
Thank you. Thank you, friend, for having me on. First, let me say I absolutely love what the 13th floor is doing. Like I said, today has just been magnificent to highlight all of what we are, right? The positive of what we are, but also to educate. So thank you again for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I don't know if you heard earlier, but I told the folks that, look, this isn't just about the medical field this hour. This whole thing is about when we breathe.
Yes.
What happens when you let us breathe?
Whew.
Right? And when it comes to Vivian, look, Vivian isn't from, you know, she didn't grow up somewhere with a silver spoon.
No.
She grew up with some parents that made sure she had a silver spoon experience, but she is from the inner city of Washington, D.C.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So look, I've been to her house. I know.
Sure
right?
Good. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I am so grateful that I had people who believed in the beauty of my dream. And I have to say that again, people who believed in the beauty of my dream and told me all the time that I could, which is why it's so important for us to go and give back, to mentor, but also to reach back and to be humble, right? I mean, I grew up on a street, there were gangs, there were, we heard gunshots and, not to sort of paint the picture, it's definitely a much better neighborhood now, but I also had community, and community is so important. And I would never change my experience because it really shaped and formed who I am today. I fight for my community in health. I fight for and advocate for my community as it relates to children and giving back to them. And so, I'm just grateful. One thing that I, often talk about is people have to see other people who look like them, or children have to see other people who look like them in order to know that they can and they can be. And so, I'm thankful for my experience.
You know what? Just keep talking. You're doing great. I don't need to ask you anything. You've got this. No. So listen, you touched on quite a few things that we may revisit. But let's do this, because this is so important, and it's just another thing that affects our community, both male and female. And I think the male part of it doesn't even get that much attention. But when it comes to breast cancer, right? What is the disparity in that space?
Look, like Terri-Ann said, I can talk about this all day, right? But the gist is breast cancer is the second leading cause of death in women, just all women, right? 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. And at the 1990s, Black women and white women certainly had the same incidence or new cases of breast cancer. And then we had some therapies that came out, for example, estrogen therapy that would block estrogen. And so we started to see this divide where white women were starting to survive and Black women were not surviving. And so Black women are 40% more likely to die from a breast cancer diagnosis. I'm gonna repeat that so that you understand what I'm saying. For a woman, a Black woman, and you compare sort of a white woman, same age, same diagnosis stage, a Black woman is 40% more likely to die. And so the question is, why? And what can we do? And so that's really what I have dedicated my life to, answering that question, and really to sort of bridge the gap and lessen that percentage rate. So some of the reasons are, you, and I understand sort of my, the ability to sort of take care of women that look like me. So some of the reasons are patients seeing folks that look like them, physicians who look like them, who can really take them seriously. Terri-Ann said it, you can't, I love the medical field, but there's certainly implicit bias that we certainly can't ignore, we need to talk about. But having folks in the community educating. So I go out into the community and I educate. We often say, for women, and I'll touch on men as well, but you should do your breast exams. But do we ever show women or men how to do breast exams? Join in some of my sessions. I'll show you how to do breast exams because it's important that you know how to do it correctly. And then education, knowing when certain signs and symptoms come up, what you need to do next. And I can't sort of push forward the fact that networking is so important. You know me, my UN folks know me. Reach out. If you see that you've got nipple discharge, skin changes, you feel a mass or lump and you're not sure, I'd rather you reach out than assume. So to jump into men, right, because we don't talk about it often enough, male with breast cancer, about 2,600 new male breast cancer cases will happen this year. About 1 in 800 men will develop breast cancer in a lifetime. And the numbers are the same, or I should say worse, for Black men. And so how can you sort of clue in and sort of catch that and not be one of those numbers, or to get treatment in, certainly in a quicker fashion? One thing, again, education, right? Know that you are at risk. Men have breast tissue. I'll repeat it. I know your breasts are not like women's breasts, but you do have breast tissue. So you should check. You should go like this and just get, the lay of the land, feel your breast tissue. And if you then feel something that's odd, go to your primary care provider and don't accept no for an answer.
Hold on, Viv. I want to touch on one thing real quick. Please hold that nugget you got coming out.
A couple days, I told you.
But I really want, it's not just about men going. It's, look, don't be prideful. Don't be ashamed. Black male health, things happen to us and we're just taught that we got to be strong and we got to keep going. But for our longevity, we got to go. We got to go get the treatment we need. We got to go get the checkups. We're scared of so much, right? We're scared of getting our prostate checked. We're scared of if our chest hurts and maybe a breast issue. Fellas, look, man, our women want us to be around. Our kids want us to be around.
True.
So it is what it is. And the more we start having these conversations amongst each other as Black men, the easier it's going to be. And we'll realize this is the norm. Let's normalize it, fellas.
Right. Normalize it. That's key. I mean, I think that is the beauty of what we're doing here, is talking about it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We don't want to continue to see the disparities that exist within our community continue to take men from our lives, right? So I agree.
Yep. All right. Whew. Man, already so much. Man, when I tell you, like, I want to cry right now because of my friends. Jeez. All right, let's talk about giving back.
We love you, Carol. You know that.
I know. Let's talk about giving back to the community, because that's something that you've made a concerted effort to do, and you do it in many ways. I know you teach wealth building on the weekend. Somehow, after everything you've already done, you find time to go buy houses and rehab them and sell them to people that may not have had an opportunity to get a house like that. So let's talk about that part, about using your platform to give back to the community.
I mean, I think it's embedded in my community, right? I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have a grandmother who told me that, I could do whatever I wanted to set my mind to do. My grandmother was an entrepreneur, right? She would rent out rooms, that same house in DC, she would rent out rooms to pay the mortgage, and then she owned the house, right?
Yeah.
I was taught very young, very early, that being an entrepreneur is so important. And as we celebrate Juneteenth, it's important that we give back to our communities, whether we support businesses, whether we, sort of make investments. We have to start building this generational wealth. And so that is what, everything that I do is all around that, centers around that. So as far as community, I mean, I can touch on a couple of things. One is, you mentioned the financial wealth building, and I buy houses, I flip them, and so that's certainly one way. But another way I sort of talked about a little bit is our youth, right? I mean, I recognize that I am a small percentage of representation as far as Black physicians. And so, and it's not just being in medicine, it's just, I was able to fulfill my purpose and goal. And so, I have a girls mentoring group called Gloss, Girls Mentor Successfully. And the idea really is if girls see people who look like them, then they know that they can too achieve, whether that's a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, a financial advisor. If they can see someone who looks like them, then they can aspire to be the same. And then the third sort of community outreach is I can talk about it. I can be about it. I can be a woman of color who is a breast surgeon, but I've got to, roll up my sleeves and get out into the community. And that's what I do. I go and talk to women. I tell them, listen, you've got to get your screening mammogram. Did you get it? Here are the reasons why you need it, right? Yep. And I look them in the eye, right? And I talk to them just like I talk to my sisters, my aunties, my cousins, my sorors. This is important. The time is now. And so, we have to use our voice. And that's what I try to do.
You mentioned your sorors, so I don't want you to be in trouble. So, definitely want to shout out the lovely ladies of Sigma Gamma Rho because they'd be mad if you didn't mention them. Right? Yep. So I just saved you. You owe me one. So Viv, look. Man, so much. We definitely gonna book you for another podcast. But I want to highlight this, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just her giving back to her community, and it's not just her using her image. She already has a son that is an author of children's book. He is the co-author, and he is putting out stuff for young Black children that shows them an image that they may not have readily accessible. Yeah. So she's already planting the seed in her children of here's something that we're going to be doing. And I want you to get used to this. Yeah. Right. So just phenomenal. Man, amazing. Yet another amazing person. And Viv, look, thank you for being here. And we're going to have you back on again. I am sure there are a bunch of questions loading up that people want to ask you. So we'll definitely get those to you and make sure that we have you on another show. What do you want to leave the people with before you go?
Man, we are beautiful people. I mean, I think just leading with that, I'm so proud to be Black and to be female and to really have the ability to follow my purpose. But our community is strong. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Example of what the 13th floor has done and continues to do. But we have to really take hold of our health. And we can't, sort of keep going down the same pathway. Dr. Cohen talked about it. Dr. Terri-Ann Bennet talked about it. It's certainly multifactorial, but we can take some ownership and eat healthy, exercise, get our annual or routine sort of visits and checkups and mammograms done. And then not just stop there, but reach out to family members and really be the example for your uncles and your aunts and your cousins. We're beautiful people. I'm proud to be who I am. I'm thankful to have the platform that I have. And I just encourage all who have a platform to use it to continue to uplift our people.
Viv, thank you so much. Man, you have a great rest of your day. Phenomenal Juneteenth. Love you so much. And we will be in contact. We'll have you on again.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Viv.
Bye.
All right. Water. Shout out to Jaden, Will Smith, Just Water. I don't know if they're listening, but shout out to them anyway. If somebody knows them, tell them we gave them a shout out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen. The ladies have shown out. The queens they've just destroyed this hour, right? But I would be remiss if I did not bring on my next guest. And I'm going to let them load him up. But my next guy, let me tell y'all, I'm gonna call him the youngest in charge of this thing. Also from the beautiful city of Miami, with roots in Antigua. So shout out to Antigua. This gentleman, I'm hoping that he's not going to show me up with voice during this session because he sings baritone for both Voices of Triumph and the male chorus at Alfred Street Baptist Church. More importantly, this young brother just finished his residency at Howard University Hospital, where he also did med school, and he did his undergrad no other place in University of Miami. And I purposely saved this brother for last because even though he's not out in the field as much as the ladies are, this brother doesn't exist. Nobody's telling you about the black male that's coming out of med school. Nobody's telling you about the black male in the field. And I just wanted to give him his flowers because we couldn't make his graduation. So his graduation was last week. I know he's still wrapping up a couple things, but ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if he's been introduced in public yet this way, but I want to introduce you all to Dr. Joseph Duberry.
Good afternoon, everyone.
All right, we're not gonna play this shy game, brother.
Well,
I just said, woo!
You really set me up for a lot. Like, you gave that phenomenal shout out to the women, and of course they were amazing, and you left me with big shoes to fill afterwards. So
hey, listen, man. When you go buy a pair of shoes, do you ask somebody else what size their shoe is?
No.
Nope. You worry about your shoe, right?
I'm worried about my shoe. And
all right, so let's worry about your shoe. We got this. We're gonna close this thing out with a banger, right? Because you have an experience. Well, Vivian has the same experience, but you went to a PWI, right? University of Miami. And then you also went to what we kind of look at as the Mecca.
It is the Mecca
of Black excellence, right? Which is Howard University, right? And what I want to ask you is, what was it like to be around that legacy and tradition, but also to be there in the moment with other people that you knew were going to be high aspiring Black individuals?
Woo. So I'll start by saying that I initially wanted to go to Howard University for undergrad. My cousin, one of my older cousins, went there, and a lot of what I'd heard about college revolved around the Howard experience. And there was a disconnect there. I got a way bigger scholarship at UM, so therefore UM happened, and it was great. I think I learned a lot of my life foundations from the University of Miami and the people I interacted with. Howard, though, is beautiful on so many levels. Just to jump to medical school wherever you go is challenging. And there's so much information that is condensed into such a small amount of time. And it was almost heartwarming to go to a place where my classmates were not against me. Everyone was working together for a common cause. We were sharing resources. We were uplifting each other. People would reach back and hold study sessions for people that were weak in another area. There's this whole mentor-mentee pipeline, which they do throughout all the years, which is amazing. So I think whereas a lot of other places, you're competing against those who are right next to you, at Howard, you were pulling everyone along. It was one line moving forward at the same time. And to have people teaching me who were so accomplished, like literally writing textbooks that were used everywhere, but also expecting a lot from you at the same time, pushing you forward and wanting you as like a Black minority, as a whatever you were, as a Howard student, they wanted excellence from you. And that was beautiful. That was something I don't think I could ever pay for.
Man, that's beautiful. And it's funny because when I was at UM, and I was there for a lot of years, and in some ways I'm still there, but I always told people that UM was just a little fish tank of what the actual world is, right? But I think your experience at Howard is a little fish tank of what our world could be. and what our community could be. Right, what you just described, and it's funny because you see it in the things that you do. So, ladies and gentlemen, not only does he take the time to worry about getting his career together, but he also takes mission trips. He goes to Ghana, he goes to Haiti, and I believe while you were at Howard, you won a community service award as well, right? So these are all things that, one, just the fact that you're now Dr. Joseph Duberry, and ladies and gentlemen, he is an OBGYN, is what he is.
Family med.
Family med?
Yeah.
Man, who gave me this?
OB, you're confusing us. It's okay.
No, man, I'm not confusing you guys. Okay, so family med, my fault. I apologize. I'm just trying to give you some more stuff, man.
Follow them up. I'll take them.
Follow them up. All right. So family med. My apologies. Family med. I think I've been to one family med Black doctor in my lifetime, and it was actually a practice owned by a sister and a brother. It was down in Fort Lauderdale, actually. But now that you're in family med, right? So what's next? Like, what do you do now? So you've already, obviously, you're going to get out there. You're going to get more experience. What do you want to continue from this point?
Big question. So I think there's a lot that I currently enjoy about what I do. Because of the area I work in, I see a lot of people that look like me. And I was privileged growing up. I think most of my doctors have been Black except for my orthodontist. Yeah, most of them have been Black. So
tell the people what part of Miami you grew up in.
So I was raised in North Miami Beach. Went to high school in Liberty City, Miami Northwestern Bulls.
Where'd you go to high school?
Miami Northwestern Bulls.
Okay. And what'd you say? You said Liberty City before that?
Yeah, that's where Miami Northwestern is.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I'm from Miami, but I'm just trying to put out there for people that they understand. Again, what happens when you let us breathe? Right? Because earlier on in the program, and I don't know if you saw that part, but Nicole Henry said earlier that the problem is that people see us and don't realize that we were those same kids that they see now, that pants might be hanging a little bit low. They might have dreads. They might not necessarily speak the way they want them to speak, right? But for all of us that you've seen, we can turn it on and off, right? When we need to, right? And it's not that we're trying to be something that we're not, and we're not trying to fake it till we make it.
We're all of those things.
We're all of those things. That's the beauty of Black people, right? That's the beauty of minorities, is that we're all of those things. And unfortunately, we're exposed to people that are one thing and don't know how to communicate. Right? So, man, let me. You about to get me going, man. But that's just because you're, like, we talk about the ladies, and look, Black women, they have an equally hard road. And there are things that happen to them that we need to stand up for too.
Exactly.
Right. And minority women as well, other minority women. When it comes to Black males, we're always front and center in the media of, man, these guys, they don't have their stuff together. These are savages. Right. And here you are now. Like I said at the beginning, you're not supposed to exist.
And I am extremely grateful, but I'm grateful because of my blessings. I look at so many of my classmates from high school who were smarter than me, who were given these opportunities that maybe not all of us had. And they're not, they may not have reached to where I've reached. And I really have to thank so many people in my past for not giving up on me. There were a lot of times where I fell short, and I may not have looked the way that they wanted me to look on paper, but people reached out and gave me a chance to prove myself. And you know, my dean used to say, at the end of the day, all people care about is results. And at the end of the day, I had to produce those results, but there were many examples that encouraged me and showed me I could do it, even when I didn't know, even when I didn't see it for myself. My circle around me helped embrace and push that at every level. I would say high school, college, grad school, medical school. Like, so many people have sewn in, and I just it just doesn't always happen.
Yep.
It just doesn't always happen. And, you know, women, I hate to generalize, but in general, they seem to be better at multitasking. And, you know, even in my medical school class, we were majority women.
Right. So I think it was Terri-Ann. She hit me to something earlier. There are less Black males in medical school now than there were in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That one hit me, and I was just like, that's crazy. But I tell you what, I got one. I got one that's through medical school. I got one that's got his MD in family med. Man, we're just so proud of you, bro. You know, I didn't get to spend a lot of time with you. I've only met you a couple times. But it's funny, and what you talked about goes back to network. And I think through what you do, because you're still involved in the community. One of his aspirations, ladies and gentlemen, is to create a pipeline for any inner city students to be exposed to medicine. And that's just something that's already in his mind that he wants to do. And go ahead. No, you go ahead, sir.
I was the beneficiary of one of those pipelines. I always have to shout out Dr. Ashford Mack. He was the beginning of medicine for me. And his story goes, he actually wanted to be a doctor, and I think he couldn't afford it, but they sponsored a PhD for him. And so he went to school where he could get the PhD. And it was his life's work to provide opportunities where people that looked like him could accomplish what he was unable to do because of restraints. So even before I was in medical school, and even when advisors told me that maybe I should consider something else, or, you know, look at other career opportunities, I knew because of the resources he'd already exposed me to, I knew because of events, I knew because of people that he had me in contact with, that this was going to happen, you know. And I did medicine because I did want to help people and make a difference. And I watched a car accident happen, and there was nothing I could do about it because I just didn't know. And I vowed that the next time I saw one, there'd be something I could do about it. And that's part of the reason I became a doctor. But the other half of that story is I wanted the credibility to say, hey, here's a Black man who is a doctor. He is working on coordinating all of these things. He's trying to show you as the example. And this is why you know you will become one, because he did it. And he came from he came from a lot of lack, you know, but with the things he did have, he was able to make it.
So listen, man, I want to thank you for being on here, and listen, man, your shoe is amazing. Your shoe is rare. You know what I mean? Like, we talk about the ladies' shoes, but in this particular case, man, you got the Louis Vuitton. You got the red bottom right now. And just want to congratulate you, man, and give you your flowers now. And we look forward to your growth and what you're going to do. And if there's any way that we can contribute to some of your community initiatives, the 13th Floor podcast will show up. And we love you, brother. We're going to definitely have you back on, because it's one thing to be in it and doing so much. It's another thing to be on the way to doing it and people getting to see that journey. And you're going to be an example to so many people that want to do it too. So I'm not even going to ask you the question of what advice do you have, because you are the living advice. Okay. Hey, love you, brother. We got to get to this next session. Ladies and gentlemen, I promised you that you would have an hour of fire. And hopefully you saw that we really do need the fire department, because that just amount of Black excellence was just amazing. And I'm honored to have been the host of this section and been able to talk through everybody. So look, health is wealth, but our next session is going to be your actual bank account wealth and building your life wealth. And we appreciate you. Dr. Duberry, anything you want to say on your way out?
Anyone can do it. But I think I missed this point earlier, but it's fine. I'll say it really quickly.
No, man, say it. Take your time.
Well, one of the things, so when Mike Brown happened, I had the chance to go to Ferguson with Howard to be a part of the protests and demonstrations there. And one of the things we learned from going there, and that I took personal, is that we have to go back and reinvest where we came from. We have to go back. Otherwise, there's no structure, there's no foundation, and the people are working with whatever's left. So I just think it's important for all of us, myself included, to go back where we came from and to reinvest in those places, because they need us and they invested a lot in us.
Man, that's beautiful, man. And look, it's not just about your money. Sometimes it's just your time. Mm-hmm. That's all we need. That's all these kids behind us need. They just need some time. Mm-hmm. Hey, sir, thank you so much, man. Happy Juneteenth to you.
Happy Juneteenth.
Yeah, man. Enjoy.
Enjoy your day.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been and will continue to be the When We Breathe session. I'm going to go ahead and bring my brother Breathe Fresh back on. And man, I'll see you all later. Enjoy the next session.
Hey, first and foremost, I want to say awesome job. Everybody, please put your U's up if you're feeling what's going on right now in the chat box. We definitely, again, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Coach K did an awesome job leading that part of the presentation. We're definitely looking forward. We got our guy Art coming in, Mr. Faison. He's about to wrap us up. But, you know, you are live here direct on the 13th floor.